Hey yo, it's Lee Hinkin here. Thanks for checking out this video today. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you a quick kind of run through on how to book a sales meeting using cold email that's relevant to 2022, and basically in six simple steps, or six really principles that I believe you need to follow in order to actually write a cold email that's going to result in a booked sales meeting. So let's just dive straight into the nuts and bolts of it. So basically, there's a lot of things that have changed, regarding cold email over the years. I mean, I first experimented with it back in 2014. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that have changed in terms of kind of approaches and market levels of sophistication and things like that, and also some technical things too in terms of deliverability. So I'm not going to go into all the individual things, but in a nutshell, a lot of things have changed, but the principles remain the same. So that's basically what I'm going to be going through. So these principles that I'm going to be basically revealing to you, they're going to be applicable, I would imagine, basically for a lifetime, regardless of tech changes and things like that. So let's just get into the first of those six, and then I'll just explain each step piece by piece, and all the different things you need to consider with each one. So first thing, if you want to be able to book sales meetings with cold email in today's day and age, is you have to be focusing on the right prospects. Okay, so what a lot of people do is they totally shoot themselves in the foot because they're too broad or generic. So like, it's just not going to work. Like, basically the rule here is the more specific and granular you get, or the more niche down you get, the easier cold email is going to be for you to actually get results with. Okay, so yeah, you really need to like get clear and really spend a bit of time actually documenting this as well, like who your ideal clients are. I mean, you might even have like multiple audience segments, which is totally fine, but still you got to be specific, granular, and deep about each of those. So really think about who they are, the kind of decision makers you need to reach out to, certain decision makers in certain departments, maybe company sizes, tech stacks if it's relevant. There's just a lot of stuff you really need to think about, and the main thing is just being really specific and granular about it. Like, if you had to look at it in terms of opposites, one is being broad and generic, and the opposite of that is deep, specific, and granular. So you want to be deep, specific, and granular, especially in 2022. The deeper and more specific you can get, the higher quality the list of prospects you'll be able to source is going to be as well, which then also impacts like the messaging itself, okay, which we'll get onto in a moment. Okay, so that's really the first step. Second, personalizing your messaging. So this is super important. Again, really just like with the first principle, you have to go, you can't be generic and broad about this. You got to be specific, deep, and granular with the messaging as well. Okay, and that really, a lot of it actually flows on from that first step. So there's a couple tactical ways to approach this. First is hyper-personalization, which just means like literally every email you create is like unique for that specific prospect. Now, this is, in my opinion, not necessarily relevant for most businesses. Like, but it is particularly relevant for like if you're doing like account-based kind of cold emails and things like that, where it's enterprise level accounts or really big deal sizes and stuff like that, maybe really small target markets, where this really applies, this hyper-personalized approach. I think for most businesses though, target persona-based personalization is really where it's at. So basically what this means in a nutshell is like identifying key characteristics about a specific group of prospects. So you might have like like a segment that's like, I don't know, 500 prospects, let's just say as an example, and there's going to be commonalities between that group of prospects. So what target persona-based personalization means is like personalizing your message to that group of target prospects based on their commonalities, like their common challenges, their common pain points, desires, things like that. So when you do that, the messaging doesn't look generic because you can tell when you read it, it's for a specific group or a specific type of people. That's essentially what target persona based personalization means. And it's much easier to scale this kind of cold outreach or cold email as well. And it's personally my preferred way to actually write personalized cold email messaging. And you can see an example here. I've just quickly popped up on this slide. Okay, so here's like an example of like a first liner that's not it's something that you could use for a specific group of people. So like in this example, let's say it's like you're contacting spirits distilleries and you know that they're expanding into other states. Let's say it's like a spirits distillery that's in Pennsylvania and you know they're expanding into New York, New Jersey, I don't know, whatever. You basically call that out like in your messaging. Okay, so it's still going to be very specific and relevant to that group of prospects, and obviously that doesn't this first sentence doesn't apply to everyone. It's not going to come across as generic. Okay, so that's just an example of kind of a target persona based personalization, how you would use it. Right, it's like that first kind of sentence really calls out that specific group of prospects. Okay, so it's a really effective way to do it without getting caught up with hyper personalizing every single email you write. And like I already said, that's my preferred way to do it. Third, offering value. So yeah, you basically want in your emails you need to basically show kind of why your prospects should care about even replying to you. So and you do that by showing benefits and highlighting tangible results and outcomes your offer provides, basically. And a good way to kind of write this part of your cold email messaging in general for like your target personas is basically every time you send a cold email, that prospect, they're basically asking themselves the question consciously. It's like, who are you? What do you do? Why should I care? Okay. So in terms of actually like distilling that value into your cold email message, really just like think of those two questions. What do you do? Why should I care? And then you can really create like a 1 or 2 sentence kind of paragraph that really like summarizes those benefits and tangible results that you provide. Okay. And the key is just being really specific with it. So not like vague and generic, like, oh, I don't know, I do PR for spirits distilleries, so I wanted to get in touch with you. Instead, what you would do is something like what's on the screen here. Okay, so we've helped other spirits distilleries that are expanding achieve local and statewide press and media exposure. For example, so and so achieved coverage, and then you'd list like the media publications, then explain the result it achieved. Yeah, and tie that into like expanding into a different state with their product range. So this basically dovetails off that earlier one that I mentioned. So if you had this as like a first line for spirits distilleries, and then you led into basically this, it's going to be a nice like kind of consistency with the messaging for that specific group of target prospects. So that's kind of how you would distill the value it's how you would distill the value in terms of the benefits results while still keeping it tied into that kind of that personalization with the target buyer personas, basically. Okay. Hopefully that is clear. So 4th step here is keep your email short and sweet. So a lot of people just write massive waffling essay length messages. And, I've learned a lot through my experience as well. Even if I look back at emails I wrote like 3-4 years ago. It's kind of like, yeah, kind of shocking how long some of my own cold emails were back in those days. But, that's all part of learning and whatnot. So obviously now I'm much more experienced and a bit wiser when it comes to these things. But yeah, in general, kind of I recommend 2-3 sentences, maybe like 4 at the max, for your emails, because you got to think as well. A lot of people read their emails on their mobiles, things like that. So you really want everything to be able to be easy and quick to read. And if you're really clear on like who your ideal client is and your offer, it should be no problem, honestly, to distill a message, like an effective, personalized message, into no more than 4 sentences. Like, yeah, if you're struggling to do that, it's probably because you're in your head too much, or you're just not clear enough about like the benefits, results your offer provides, and who your actual ideal client is. So really, 4 at the absolute max. 5, you need a clear CTA that's specific. Okay, so again, we want to be avoiding anything that's general and vague when it comes to cold email or just marketing in general, for that matter. So basically, there's going to be different goals you can have with a CTA. Pretty much, there's really only 2. Well, pretty much in general, there's only one goal of cold email, in my opinion, and that's to like book sales meetings. Okay, but the avenue to actually booking those sales meetings can be different when it comes to the CTA. So you can have like a CTA where you're essentially asking to get a call booked straight up, or if they want to chat. Or the other type of CTA is where you'd like actually engage to get an interested response first, and then you'd like engage back and forth, 2 or 3 emails or something, to then kind of move them forward to booking a sales call with you. Totally depends, really. So here's a couple of examples here. So example, to get a call booked, mind if I send over a couple of times to chat this week? Pretty simple. Example of like engaging, mind if I send you over a short video explaining about how this works? And yeah, as I've got here, key is to be testing it, see what works. Some of those CTAs are going to appeal to different types of prospects, depends on how sophisticated your market is and things like that. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of individual variance, like there always is with marketing in general. Okay, so just keep that in mind, but test them out. And a key thing with this that I forgot to point out is make sure your call to actions, regardless of which type of call to action, is something that is like results in a yes or no answer, basically. Yeah, like you can do other types of CTAs where they're kind of more open. But in my experience, these are the 2 kinds of CTAs that work best, and especially if it's like the kind of end answer is going to be a yes or a no. Just something to keep in mind. Number 6. So following up, this is really important. Yeah, it's crazy to me when I speak with people, so many people, when they tell me they send like 1 or 2 cold emails and that's it. So yeah, I mean, you have to follow up, but the reality is a lot of people are just busy, they forget stuff. Maybe they're watching football when they read your email, and then they're just like, I'll get back to this later, and then forget. So yeah, you just got to really understand that, like, people are busy, forget stuff, get distracted easy, especially in today's day and age. So you really need to follow up. Like there's so many times in cold email campaigns in my own business, and that for clients, where you get replies on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, even 5th email sometimes. So yeah, it's just something you really need to make sure you do, because otherwise you're missing out on opportunities. Okay. So yeah, typically the way I recommend it is to have like a 4 to 5 step entire sequence, so multi-step sequence. You can have kind of a mix between follow-ups that are in the same thread. That might be like a simple bump CTA kind of email. And then you might even have like follow-ups beyond that, where it's like steps 3, 4 kind of thing, where it's maybe a sharing case study, some other kind of value, maybe some kind of personalized content or video. You could be asking a question. There's a lot of different things you can do, honestly. It's just that's really going to depend on, like, that's just strategy kind of things, and that's going to be largely determined by your target audience itself and things like that. But the main thing is you got to be following up. Okay, you definitely want to have a multi-step sequence, and really try and like think of the different ways you can follow up. That's going to add value and kind of move a cold prospect kind of through those buying stages of awareness to the point where they're actually going to be interested to know more about what you do, or at least jumping on the call for a quick chat. So that's pretty much it. They're really the main 6 kind of steps or principles, if you want to put it that way, that you need to follow with cold email in 2022 to be able to book a sales meeting effectively. Okay, this is the stuff that works still. I know that because I'm booking sales meetings every day between my own business and that of clients we work with. So I know these principles are timeless. They will last a lifetime. This is the shit that works in a nutshell. So yeah, love to hear your thoughts and feedback anyway. Let me know. Drop a comment wherever, depending on wherever you're watching this. It's on YouTube or somewhere else. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, feedback. Most importantly, hope you got some enjoyment out of it, some value. Hope you've learned a thing or two. And yeah, subscribe, follow me wherever I am on social media or wherever you're watching this. It's YouTube, subscribe to the channel. It's Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Follow me. And that's pretty much it. And apart from that, thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for the next video when that's published. All right, thanks. Bye.